Happy birthdays as well. You always find the latest courtyard permanent solution. Out of the box.
Hello and welcome to Radio Waves by todderbert. If you enjoy reviews, comparisons, band scans of new and classic portable radios, then make sure to subscribe and tap the bell icon so you miss any of my future videos. In front of us, we have the Buzz 4000 by Wayl. This is an AM, FM NOAA solar-powered emergency crank radio. You can get these off Amazon for around $40. Here it is. Comes in an attractive box. Some cool illustrations. Got some bullet points here. Pretty simple, so we'll go ahead and open this up. In the box, we get some paperwork. To the side. Got the radio, got a little handle. I'll take out of this foam here. Underneath there we have a cable. We'll pull that out. And the box is empty. And on top here, it's got the little symbol, the Wayl. Thank you for being a valued customer, wayl.shop. All right. Set it off to the side there. We're going to kind of zoom on down. Move some stuff out of the way here. Okay, here's our first thing. We have the USB charging cable. This is to charge the internal lithium ion battery and also to use it to charge devices if you have any micro USB devices, such as, I don't know, a radio wow. I would use it to charge this here. Pretty cool. You just plug in your USB and go right to the power bank with this. Pretty awesome. Always like having secondary radios on hand. Nice thing. So that's the cable. Next, we have some paperwork. We have a quick start guide, getting started, switch to lithium ion, and hand crank 3 to 5 minutes to activate the battery. I didn't do that. I just plugged mine in. But if you didn't have that luxury to plug it in, you would use the hand crank to charge the battery and get it started. Dynamo action is interesting. Takes a lot of revolutions to charge, and we'll talk about the charge rate on the Dynamo. Okay, next we have, looks like a warranty card, 100% satisfaction guarantee. Thanks for your order. Okay, if any issue with your radio and shipping, please contact us right away. They're pretty happy. They want to make you happy, so you give them a good review. Awesome. Okay, there you go. Really cool manual in yellow. I love yellow radios, and now I got a yellow manual with my first. This is great. So I'm just going to kind of open this up. You guys can pause and read. It shows basic illustrations and basic instructions. Neat thing is, you can pause and read this at your leisure, or go back to it if I miss something, because everything is here that is explained with this radio. And of course, I'm going to go over all the features. And then there's actually this back side here. Show you these. Go over lighting and the lumens. Talk about that. And they got a nice little specification chart there you guys can check out too. So that's the manual. Let's get to the radio. Okay, so I got this handle. I'm going to flip that back down. Let's go over dimensions. I'm going to flip this up. This is kind of cool looking. So dimensions across here is 7.5 inches. We have a height of 2 3/4 of an inch. We have a case depth of 4 inches. So quite a wide body radio. For size comparison, we can bring out a little CC pocket. It's kind of right where that solar panel is to give you an idea what a small portable looks like compared to this radio. Neat. And next we have a CC Skywave, a bigger radio. Another neat thing about the CC Skywave is you can use this power bank to charge the Skywave too, because it has a USB input to charge the batteries. So it's pretty universal. I like that. Having power banks is nice. And this one's special because it has a bigger battery, and we'll talk about that. And of course, Iron Man. Show you that deck of cards looks like. And it's always neat to have a deck of cards with your emergency radio. If the power goes out and you have no entertainment except for your radio, I have a deck of cards. You can play solitaire or play some games with friends. Kind of a neat way to pass the time. So, yeah, there we go. All right, so let's talk about features of this Buzz 4000. Love the name. Right away, I like the colors. Yellow on black. And it's regular plastic. There's no soft touch. The only thing that is soft on here is the rubber jacket on the side. And we'll show you that in a moment. So let's go ahead and talk about features. So left-hand side, that rubber jacket I showed you, has little symbols, has a cell phone, has a USB, has a headphone jack, it looks like a TF and USB. So you pull this open, and you can see the different jacks. There's your USB charge out, there's your USB charge in, charge the internal battery, and I'll show that to you in a moment. Here we have the headphone jack. Unfortunately, it's FM mono, both ears. It's also MP3 mono. I did not have any stereo. I could not hear any stereo with this. So I don't know if it's an oversight because it says 2 speakers, that this isn't stereo. We'll talk about the speakers too. It's just kind of a little bit of a letdown. The noise is pretty high on this, so you're only going to use this to listen to maybe the FM radio. It sounds halfway decent FM, and then local AM stations sounded okay. But MP3 playback wasn't that great because I heard like little digital sounds with the headphones on with MP3 playback. So you probably won't use that too often. Here we have 2 ports for the USB mode. We have a USB flash drive where you can plug in and read off the MP3s off the flash drive. And we also have a micro SD card slot, which I've populated with a 16 gigabyte card. Now in the instructions, they mentioned to put everything on the root drive, use no folders. I just put folders, put my music in the folders, and it works fine with folders. So you can disregard that comment. They probably just don't want you using tons of files, so keep the file count to a minimum. The thing about having a micro SD card slot and an MP3 player is you could have contact lists. You could actually record your voice saying, this is so-and-so's phone number. This is what we do in an emergency. This is what we do when we boil water. So you could have a lot of the preparedness lists voice recorded on here. And you could also have maybe some audio books for survival needs if you have to. So there we go. It doesn't quite close with that micro SD card because it kind of sticks out past the radio a little bit. Okay, let's go to the front. We are greeted by 2 speakers. Excuse me. These speakers are about, I don't know, 1.5 to 2 inches. I mean, here it's about 2, but it looks like the speaker's only that big, so about 1 inch, 1.5 inches. I'm going to guess in between. So that's what they are. Now, you have 2 speakers you think it would be stereo, and it says stereo on the box, but I could not detect it, maybe because of the way they're angled, the pitch, and they're kind of close together, and they're kind of tinny sounding, so I couldn't really tell that they were stereo or not. But they could have done with just 1 speaker, but I guess for the design element, they kept it with 2. Here we have Wayl, the name of the company. We have the weather band scale, you can see right there. Then we have the FM 87 to 108, AM 520 to 1700. We have a tuning indicator, it turns green when you're in tune. We have a charge indicator, it turns blue when it's charging. Now off the solar panel, it's a steady light, and when you're charging on USB, it flashes until it's charged, and it goes solid when it's fully charged. Band select switch, weather band FM AM, tuning knob, volume on-off switch. Okay. Top of the radio, you saw you had this big solar panel. It's rated charge. They say about 28 to maybe 30 hours for a full charge to charge the internal battery, which we're going to talk about in a moment. I kind of did the math, and it's about 150 milliamp hour rated cell. So it's not bad. It takes a little bit of time to charge, but at least it will charge while you're using AAA batteries, because it has that mode on this, and I'll show it to you in a moment too. So if you're using dry batteries, it'll also charge lithium while you're using those. I thought that was a neat feature. Another cool feature is the handle. Neat to have a handle on your radio. But the neat thing about this one is there's a light built in. It's this little switch here. Click that, and now you have this 5 LED light, pretty bright. They call it 20 lumens worth. I think it's pretty intense. I like that, built into the handle. And then on the back there, you have a little antenna. This little antenna extends out 12 inches. Not spectacular, but it does get the reception that you need in an emergency. Okay, right-hand side of the radio, we have a flashlight. This is a 100 lumen dude. And this, I noticed the switch is a little harder to switch. It's not very easy. You have to put a little bit of effort into it, but it is a nice bright light. They say this radio will run the light about 10 to 12 hours. I imagine it could be longer, so some of these values they give you in the instructions might be a little limited, because they also say the radio is 10 or 12 hours. And there's a big battery in here. I'm going to show it to you in a moment. So let's get to that battery. That'll be on the back side here. So on the back, we're greeted by a Dynamo crank. They say you can spin this for 5 hours to charge the internal battery full. I don't think I could spin it that much, but that's what that is. Here's the battery. This is the cool part. This is a 4,000 milliamp hour rated setup. It's two 18650s running in parallel, and of course attached there. Kind of cool that it has that much capacity in this radio. Typically you get to 2,000, you get to single cell. This one has double. So when they say 10 to 12 hours of radio time, I'm going to say maybe double that, because I've used a radio with just a single cell and it's lasted me easily 10 hours. So I'm going to base it on my experience with other radios. On the bottom here we have information there, and then we have the switch if you're running dry battery or the lithium ion. And of course we have the dry battery storage. This is really cool to have an emergency radio. Get this open. There's a lot of features on this radio. We know we're taking time, but it's just cool. It takes 3 AAAs. Neat thing about this is that if your lithium battery is dead and you need to listen to the radio, you can. And also, neat thing is, like I mentioned, you can put the 3 batteries in, listen to your radio, and the solar panel will still charge the lithium battery inside if the lithium battery is still good and taking a charge. I thought that was neat. Polarity, you can kind of see top battery, the positives to the right, and the bottom battery, the positive is to the, excuse me, did I get that right? Okay, I'm trying to read this with the, okay, top battery, positives to the right, middle battery, positives to the left, bottom battery, positives to the right. Okay, so yeah, 3 AAAs. Couldn't quite see that through the camera here. All right, so then go ahead and close that up. Love this yellow color. Again, I was talking about that. So let's go ahead and talk about FM reception, and we'll turn this on and kind of go through the band a little bit, show you what this does on the bands. So FM reception report. The reason why I do this is because if I have a second or two of audio that YouTube finds that is copyrighted, they may block this video from other countries. So I like to do a FM reception report and tell you about what it does, my own findings. I found this radio found 51 stations, which is an average radio. Most average radios find about 48 to 50 stations in my area. So it got a 2.5 star rating, right in the middle. Not a bad thing at all, especially for an emergency radio. I was pretty impressed by that. 2, FM selectivity was okay to good because it did find those stations. You have to take your time tuning because this is a DSP radio and you get this really tiny antenna. If they made the antenna longer, it might get better reception. But what I noticed, it didn't get a ton, but it had enough, which I thought was decent. So overall, an average rating on the FM, not a bad thing. Okay, so let's go on. I talked about the battery, talked about running in parallel, pretty cool. We're going to go ahead and run the USB. This is kind of fun. So yeah, also talked about the flashlight, right? 100 lumens on this, 120 lumens on the handle. It's always fun. Okay, so let's go. I got the micro SD card put in there. I got a 16 gig in there. They don't tell you how big a card you can use, but I'm guessing up to 32. It's a very basic player. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the top buttons. There's a band, an SOS button, a pause play, a back, and a forward. There's no seek forward or seek back. Okay, it says track forward or track back. Pause play. Here, you switch from radio to the MP3 mode, and if you press and hold this, let's see if I can do this without killing your ears. So you press and hold the SOS for 3 seconds, and you get that nice loud siren. You're trapped under debris and you have your radio with you. You can get people to locate you. That's really neat to have. And of course, just tap it once to turn it off. Okay, let's go and turn this radio on. Yeah.
Storm risk. Limited flooding risk. Limited non-thunderstorm wind risk. Thursday, limited flooding risk. Significant thunderstorm risk. Friday and Saturday, limited thunderstorm risk. Now here is the hazardous weather discussion. Additional periods of rain and thunderstorms are expected into the upcoming weekend. Flooding will also continue on area rivers. Spotter information.
So I get about 1 or 2 stations. This is my local.
Southern portions of the area. General storm motion of the day, moving toward the...
Okay, so let's go ahead and switch to MP3 mode. And to do that, you can see the tune right on. You hit the band button. I'll do a little demo, probably for a minute or 2, and then we'll go through the AM band a little bit.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Presents The Adventures of Ellery Queen. Suspense.
So as you can see, I have some old-time radio shows there. Let me go ahead and just pause that. Yeah, so I enjoy having that neat thing, like again, about having MP3 playback on a radio, on emergency radio, typically. You wouldn't think you would want it, but it is a really neat entertainment value to the radio. You can have some music. You could have ebooks. You could have, like I have old-time radio shows, easily 2 or 3 dozen on there of different ones, just in case you need entertainment in your power out situation, you have it. And it is a nice thing to have. And also, like I said, you can also record your voice and have preparedness lists, contact lists, different routes to take and evacuations, just in case you forgot or don't have misplace your phone, and you'll have it on the radio all the time. I think that's a neat idea. This radio is IPX3 rated, just to tell you that. So it's just water resistant. I wouldn't want to get it wet. They tell you to keep it dry. So like with this jacket here, it does stick out with it in micro SD. So I kind of jammed it so the micro SD slicks out a little bit above. But you don't want to get this wet. So I would just, maybe a couple drops of water would be fine. Also, Dynamo crank time. Thought I'd go over it real quick. When you crank it 1 minute, around 120 revolutions on that 1 minute, you get about 5 or 10 minutes of radio, and you get about 8 to 14 hours of flashlight. So it's not pretty efficient Dynamo. I don't usually use the Dynamos too often, but I'll take their word for that. That does sound like a pretty legitimate thing. So let's go ahead and turn this on the AM band. At night, I was getting okay amount of stations, but during the day, not too many, mainly my locals. So we're going to go tune the bottom of the band here on the AM. I'll just kind of go through the AM band real slow or quick, depending on what we find. Turn this up. Oh, got to turn on this mode. Okay. Now we're on the AM. Things turned off. Okay. Okay, I think I'm on the FM. I'm sitting there like, man, there's got to be something soon.
A basket case. The only state in the past 30 years who made the switch. And it's absolutely killed them. Let me go to Paul. Hey, Paul. How you doing? Hi, man. Right here at Burlington RV. Visit BurlingtonRV.com.
Potawatomi is looking to fill jobs in housekeeping, valet, cage, beverage, and more. Apply at paysbig.com/career.
Wait for a long time, so maybe that's a good thing. And it said today would happen to be the birthday of Eugene Robinson, who won the Bart.
This is 670 The Score, BSCR, one of my locals. That station before was actually a Wisconsin station out of Milwaukee, WTMJ 620.
Out and solicits a prostitute who was an undercover cop.
Okay, they're not talking about sports. Great. Maybe they are. I don't know.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Tim Anderson went back to third base on that chopper, but that must be because he absolutely knew it was foul. Otherwise, he should have been digging hard toward home. That's a fact. So it must have been off. That's foul, and he just decided it wasn't worth trying to run it all, but it wasn't that far foul. If they say there's a lot of hits up
720
the middle,
WGN.
that would be the case here for sure.
This is 750. I think it's a local. Actually, no, it's Indiana.
A man who'd fallen off a boat. Lucio was 6 years old, and a 15-year veteran of the fire.
780 WBBM Chicago.
Chicago and Mayor Lightfoot is celebrating the gift of a new school dedicated to the emerging science of molecular engineering.
And they told us, they've out and out told us that it is their plan to completely fix
WSCP, Willow Springs, Illinois, 820.
to that. You see, Mitch McConnell,
850 WAIT, Crystal Lake. I'm just going to kind of cruise up the dial here. Tends to be really quiet after around 1,000.
have been blessed. Let the ministry know.
So maybe later on the AM will improve in the evening, but I didn't notice a ton. Mainly just some 300-mile stations, but nothing super far. Okay, so we'll go ahead and turn this off, and we'll do final thoughts on this radio. So you get a little charging light there with the solar. It's pretty neat, that blue. So yeah, the Wayl Buzz 4000. Love the name, love the colors. Initial impressions, I'm enjoying the radio as far as what it's capable of. Its biggest thing here is its power bank. Having that huge battery, that 4,000 milliamp hour battery, is amazing. Twin cells there, and it looks like you can replace it. You can probably even build your own pack if you wanted to. I think that's really neat because they do have it, with a door here. Having an optional dry battery for the radio, very important. Using this as a emergency power bank is great, and having this dual wide solar panel on a solar powered radio, that's good, especially emergency one. This is probably one of the biggest solar panels I've had on an emergency radio. I don't even know if the Kato 900 has that big of a panel. This is just a great size setup, and I'm actually going to measure it and put this in right here, and I'm going to put the Kato 900 here so you can see the difference. That way you know the differences. And like I said, this is like the largest I've seen, and it probably does a great job. I love the reading lamps in the handle. I think that's a really cool way to hide them, and you can pivot these. I don't know how useful this is. You could probably have to just pivot the radio up like this and read like that, or kind of put this up on something and have it like this here. I think that's the best way to use these reading lamps. They're really bright little dudes. They say 20 lumen, but they seem so much brighter. Having a nice bright flashlight, is always a good emergency. Definitely a hard switch to activate, but once it's on, this thing is rocking. I mean, this is a bright spot. Good to have in an emergency, of course. And then the big thing, like I said, with that big battery, you can charge other radios. And that's what I would use. I would always have an emergency radio along with a backup radio that's rechargeable, like say this radio here, this Radio Wow, or more likely the Skywave. I'd probably have this one handy. The reason being, this has weather alert. In case this radio fails for some reason, but your power bank's still working, you're able to charge this radio, which can do this similar things too, which I, glad for. So you could have, two radios together in an emergency package, for your emergency needs, if the money allows. If it doesn't, this radio by itself is great for getting you information that you need. So overall, is it a buy at around $40? Yeah, it represents a good value for what you get. The audio isn't spectacular. I wanted stereo because there's 2 speakers here. I can't tell if it is. The speakers are rather tinny, but with emergency radio, I wasn't expecting, huge bass response or anything like that. So if you want an emergency radio that sounds halfway decent, the Kato 900 is amazing on the FM with FM stereo and with its MP3 playback. If you have to have an awesome sounding emergency radio, that's the one you go with. But its shortwave and AM isn't that great, so just something to keep in mind when you're shopping around. But this radio I find is pretty compact, easy to pack away, and they even say you can have this sit for 4 hours. 4 hours. You can have it sit for 4 months, and the battery will still be charged. Even though they say a regular charging regimen of once a month is a good idea, they do say you can store up to 4 months, which is a nice thing. So if you forget, it should be ready for, pretty much all summer season, for bad weather. So good to know. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed the feature presentation of the Wayl Buzz 4000. If you did, please give me a big like. You guys are awesome. 2, if you like emergency radios, you like these different kinds, and you're a fan, hit subscribe, hit the bell icon if you haven't already. And number 3, comment below what you think about the Wayl Buzz 4000. Would this be a radio you would buy? Do you like the idea of a large solar panel, optional battery use, larger lithium battery, bright flashlights, MP3 player, just different things like that. The power bank is decent for charge out. So let me know. All right, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Take care and goodbye.